I'm Sarah Mitchell, 28 years old, and I'm standing in my stepmother's pristine kitchen, holding a DNA test result that just shattered everything my family thought they knew about themselves. For 2 decades, Linda made sure I understood that I wasn't really a Mitchell, that I was just the leftover baggage from my dad's first marriage. Tyler and Madison were her real children, the ones who truly belonged. But the papers trembling in my hands right now prove that I'm the only one in this house who actually carries Bob Mitchell's DNA. The irony would be hilarious if it wasn't so devastating. Just 20 minutes ago, I was preparing to announce that I'd accepted a teaching position in Portland, ready to finally escape this family that never wanted me. Now I'm holding scientific proof that the daughter they've treated like an outsider for 20 years is the only legitimate Mitchell child in the room, while the two golden children they've doted on share no biological connection to the man they call dad. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. The sound of my dad's laughter echoes from the living room where he's celebrating Tyler's latest baseball scholarship offer. Meanwhile, I'm in the kitchen where I always end up during family gatherings, washing dishes that aren't mine, cleaning up messes I didn't make, invisible to everyone except when they need something. The DNA results arrived this morning, addressed to me because I was the one who organized the genetic testing when Dad's cardiologist said he needed a complete family medical history for his upcoming heart surgery. What was supposed to be a routine medical procedure has just blown apart the carefully constructed lies that have defined my entire adult life. The laboratory paperwork doesn't lie. Robert Mitchell is my biological father, just as I always believed. But Tyler Mitchell shows zero genetic markers for paternal relationship, and Madison Mitchell's results indicate she shares no DNA whatsoever with the man who's paid for her private school education, her cheerleading camps, and her upcoming college tuition. I grew up thinking I was the mistake, the reminder of my dad's first marriage that Linda tolerated out of legal obligation. My mother Jennifer died in a car accident when I was 6, leaving me with only fragmented memories of bedtime stories and the smell of her lavender perfume. When Dad married Linda 2 years later, she came with Tyler and Madison, ages 10 and 7 respectively, and suddenly I became the fourth wheel in a family that seemed perfectly balanced without me. The integration was seamless for everyone except me. Tyler inherited Dad's supposed love for baseball, spending every weekend at games and practices while I sat in the bleachers with a book, forgotten until it was time to carry the equipment bag. Madison shared Linda's passion for interior decorating, the two of them spending hours rearranging furniture and selecting paint colors while I helped with the manual labor they considered beneath them. Linda never said outright that I didn't belong, but her message came through in 1,000 subtle ways. When people asked about her children, she'd say Tyler's on varsity baseball and Madison's captain of the cheer squad, then add as an afterthought, and Sarah's doing well in school too. The pause before my name always felt like a disclaimer, a clarification that I was separate from her real accomplishments. Family photos told the same story. Linda would arrange Tyler and Madison flanking Dad while I hovered on the edge, slightly apart as if I might contaminate the genetic purity of their unit. Christmas cards featured the four of them in coordinated outfits while I wore whatever I could find in my closet that didn't clash too obviously. When relatives visited, I was introduced as Bob's daughter from his first marriage, while Tyler and Madison were simply our children. The financial disparities were stark but unspoken. Tyler's baseball equipment cost thousands, his tournament travel expenses covered without question. Madison's cheerleading uniforms, competition fees, and summer camps received instant approval. When I needed money for academic competition trips or art supplies for my advanced placement classes, Linda would sigh and mention the household budget, suggesting I find a part-time job to cover extra expenses. By high school, I'd learned to expect nothing and ask for less. My academic achievements went uncelebrated while Tyler's mediocre grades were praised as improvement, and Madison's social successes were treated as major family victory. I graduated valedictorian of my class, earning a full academic scholarship to Ohio State, while the family threw a massive graduation party for Madison's barely passing senior year, because she'd managed to get into a local community college. The pattern continued through college and into my teaching career. Tyler's failed business ventures received financial bailouts and emotional support, Madison's 3 broken engagements were met with sympathy and expensive rebound vacation. My master's degree in education, my Teacher of the Year nomination, my volunteer work with struggling students, none of it registered as noteworthy in the Mitchell family hierarchy. Living arrangements reflected the same dynamic. Tyler moved back home 3 times during his 20s. Each return treated as a temporary arrangement while he figured things out. Madison lived rent-free in the basement apartment. Linda converted for her, complete with separate entrance and monthly grocery allowances. When I graduated college, Linda suggested I find my own place immediately, hinting that my presence was disrupting their empty nest phase. I rented a small apartment downtown, furnished it with garage sale finds and hand-me-downs, and built a life that felt entirely separate from the Mitchell family universe. My colleagues became my chosen family, my students provided the appreciation I never received at home, and my small apartment became a sanctuary where I didn't have to justify my existence or apologize for taking up space. But family obligations continued to pull me back into their orbit. Holiday dinners where I brought homemade side dishes that went unnoticed while store-bought desserts from Tyler and Madison received effusive praise. Birthday celebrations where my thoughtful, personalized gifts were opened quickly and set aside while expensive gadgets from the others became conversation centerpieces. The breaking point should have come years ago, but it finally arrived last month during Dad's 52nd birthday dinner. Linda had reserved a table at Springfield's most expensive restaurant, the kind of place where entrees cost more than I spent on groceries in a week. Tyler presented Dad with tickets to a Cubs game, Madison gave him a vintage watch she'd charged to his own credit card, and I offered a leather-bound photo album I'd spent weeks assembling with pictures from his childhood and early marriage to my mother. Dad flipped through the album politely, pausing briefly at photos of my mother, then set it aside to admire Tyler's game tickets. Linda gushed about the watch Madison had selected, praising her impeccable taste and thoughtfulness. My hours of careful photo selection and handwritten captions might as well have been invisible. Sarah always was the sentimental type, Linda commented, her tone suggesting this was a character flaw rather than a virtue. Some people show love through memories, others through practical gifts that actually get used. The dismissal stung with familiar precision. I excused myself to the restroom and seriously considered leaving through the back exit, walking to my car and never returning. Instead, I splashed cold water on my face, reminded myself that I was a grown woman with her own life and achievements, and returned to finish the meal in silence. That night, I updated my resume and began applying for teaching positions in other states. Portland offered me an interview within a week, a job offer within a month. The principal there actually read my credentials, asked thoughtful questions about my educational philosophy, and seemed genuinely excited about my trauma-informed teaching approaches. For the first time in years, I felt valued for my professional expertise, rather than tolerated as an obligation. I planned to announce my departure at today's family dinner, a casual Sunday meal Linda hosts monthly to maintain the illusion of family closeness. I'd prepared a simple speech explaining my new opportunity, my gratitude for their support over the years, and my intention to stay connected despite the distance. The words felt hollow even in rehearsal, but I hoped to leave gracefully rather than with the dramatic confrontation my frustration deserved. Then Dad's cardiologist called about the genetic testing requirements, and everything changed. Dr. Peterson explained that Dad's family history would influence his surgical approach and long-term treatment plan. He needed comprehensive genetic information from all immediate family members to identify potential inherited conditions and determine the safest medication protocol. I volunteered to coordinate the testing, partly because Linda seemed overwhelmed by the medical terminology, and partly because organizing family logistics had always been my unofficial role. I researched laboratories, scheduled appointments, and ensured everyone understood the process. The testing itself was simple, just saliva samples and a detailed family history questionnaire. Tyler complained about the inconvenience and had to be reminded twice to complete his kit. Madison worried the testing might reveal embarrassing health information that could affect her insurance rate. Linda seemed nervous throughout the process, asking repeatedly about privacy protections and what information would be shared with whom. Only I approached the testing with genuine concern for Dad's health outcome. I completed the family history forms with information I'd gathered from my mother's medical records, details about my maternal grandparents' health issues, and everything I could remember from conversations with relatives who'd known our family history. I wanted Dad's doctors to have complete information, even if that meant revealing health conditions Linda preferred to keep private. The results arrived by mail this morning, addressed to me as the designated family coordinator. I'd expected routine confirmation of what we already knew, basic genetic markers that would help Dad's surgical team prepare for potential complications. Instead, I found myself staring at test results that made no sense, according to everything I'd been told about my family structure. According to MedGen Laboratories, I am Robert Mitchell's biological daughter with 99. My genetic markers align perfectly with his, confirming the paternal relationship I'd never questioned, despite Linda's subtle implications that my resemblance to my mother made my paternity somehow ambiguous. But Tyler's results show zero genetic relationship to Robert Mitchell. Madison's test indicates no shared DNA with the man she calls Dad. The laboratory had included a note suggesting we repeat the testing to confirm these unexpected findings, but the science was clear. The children Linda had raised as Mitchell heirs share no biological connection to the Mitchell family patriarch. I read the results 3 times, checked the names and dates to ensure there hadn't been a clerical error, then researched the laboratory's reputation online. MedGen had excellent ratings, accreditation from multiple medical organizations, and a track record of accuracy that made mistakes highly unlikely. The implications are staggering. For 20 years, Linda has emphasized that Tyler and Madison are the real Mitchell children, the ones who truly belong, while I'm just a remnant from Dad's previous life. She's advocated for their financial support, defended their failures, and celebrated their mediocre achievements, while preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. Treating my genuine accomplishments as irrelevant distractions, but they're not his children at all. Somewhere in the complex dynamics of Linda's first marriage and her relationship with Dad, she's been living a lie that cast me as the outsider when I was actually the only insider all along. I think about all the times she's made comments about genetic inheritance, how Tyler got his athletic ability from Dad, how Madison inherited his business sense, how my academic focus must come from my mother's side since it was so different from the Mitchell family trait. Every observation was not just wrong but deliberately misleading, designed to reinforce my outsider status, while elevating children who had no genetic claim to the identity they've worn so comfortably. The cruelest irony is that I've spent 20 years trying to earn acceptance into a family where I was the only one who actually belonged by birth. While Linda positioned herself as the gatekeeper of Mitchell family authenticity, she was protecting children whose connection to that family was entirely constructed through her marriage, rather than biology. Now I'm standing in her kitchen, holding proof that everything I've been told about my place in this family is backwards. The question isn't whether I belong here, the question is whether anyone else does. The dining room erupts in celebration as Tyler announces his baseball scholarship to Kent State, the 3rd college offer he's received this month despite his barely passing grades and attitude that treats academic work like an inconvenience. Dad beams with pride, slapping Tyler on the back while Linda dabs emotional tears with her cloth napkin, the same napkin set she uses only for special occasions, or when she wants to emphasize the importance of a moment. Madison squeals with excitement, immediately pulling out her phone to post about her brother's achievement on every social media platform she manages. The post will probably read something about how talent runs in the Mitchell family, how her amazing brother continues the family tradition of excellence. She'll use hashtags that connect Tyler's success to their shared identity, reinforcing the narrative that's defined our household dynamics for as long as I can remember. I watch this performance from my usual position at the far end of the table, the seat closest to the kitchen so I can easily fetch drinks, clear plates, or handle any task that might interrupt the flow of conversation among the real family members. This seating arrangement wasn't assigned through any formal discussion, but evolved naturally over years of family meals where my presence was tolerated rather than celebrated. The Mitchell family hierarchy operates with unspoken but rigid rules that everyone understands implicitly. Dad sits at the head of the table, his position as patriarch unquestioned and reinforced through Linda's constant deference to his opinions on everything from restaurant choices to vacation destination. Linda occupies the opposite end, orchestrating the meal service and conversation topics, with the skill of someone who's made family management her professional specialty. Tyler and Madison flank Dad's sides, positioned like courtiers attending a king, their proximity to his chair reflecting their status as the legitimate heirs to whatever legacy he's building. Their conversations flow easily between sports statistics, social events, and future plans that always include family financial support and emotional investment. My position at the table mirrors my position in the family structure, close enough to participate when needed, far enough removed to be forgotten when convenience requires it. I can contribute to conversations about practical matters like scheduling or logistics, but my opinions on important decisions carry no weight in the final deliberation. Linda maintains this dynamic through careful attention to language and gesture. When discussing family plans, she refers to our children when speaking about Tyler and Madison, but shifts to the kids when I'm included in the conversation. The distinction sounds subtle to outsiders, but creates a clear boundary between those who belong and those who are accommodated. Gift-giving occasions reveal the same pattern with mathematical precision. Tyler's birthday last month included a surprise party with 30 guests, a professional photographer to document the celebration, and presents that cost more than I spend on rent for 3 months. Madison's Sweet 16 2 years ago featured a rented venue, catered dinner, and a car that Linda justified as a safety necessity for a young driver navigating busy Springfield streets. My birthday celebrations follow a different template entirely. Linda acknowledges the date with a homemade cake and a modest gift, usually something practical like clothing or school supplies. The gatherings include only immediate family, no photographers, no elaborate decoration. When people ask about the disparity, Linda explains that I've always preferred simple celebrations, a preference I never expressed, but apparently developed through her interpretation of my personality. Christmas morning amplifies these dynamics to almost comical proportion. Tyler and Madison's gifts fill the space under our tree, professionally wrapped packages that Linda arranges for maximum visual impact. Their presents cost hundreds of dollars each, items they've specifically requested after browsing catalogs and websites for months leading up to the holiday. My gifts occupy a smaller section of the tree, wrapped in whatever paper Linda finds on sale, containing items she's selected based on her assessment of what I need rather than what I want. Books about teaching techniques, organizational supplies for my classroom, practical sweaters in colors she thinks suit my complexion. The gifts aren't malicious, but they reinforce my role as the responsible family member whose needs are functional rather than aspirational. Vacation planning follows identical patterns with devastating consistency. The family takes 2 major trips annually, summer beach vacations and winter ski weekends, elaborate adventures that Linda researches for months and Dad funds without questioning the expense. Tyler and Madison participate in every planning discussion, offering opinions about destinations, activities, and accommodations that receive serious consideration in the final decision-making process. I'm invited to these vacations, but not included in the planning stage. Linda presents the completed itinerary with my participation assumed rather than requested, then expresses mild irritation when I suggest modifications or express preferences that don't align with the group consensus. When budget discussions arise, she mentions that my teacher salary makes it difficult for me to contribute equally to expenses, a reminder that positions me as a financial burden rather than a contributing family member. The vacation dynamics continue throughout the actual trips, where Tyler and Madison receive spending money for souvenirs and activities, while I'm expected to cover my own entertainment expenses. They share hotel rooms with comfortable sleeping arrangements, while I'm given the pull-out couch or floor space that transforms their vacation luxury into my endurance test. Photography during these trips captures the same hierarchy that defines our home life. Tyler and Madison pose naturally with Dad, their smiles genuine and relaxed, their body language reflecting the comfortable intimacy of people who belong together without question. When I appear in photos, my position feels forced, my smile appears strained, my presence documented more for completeness than because anyone wants to remember my participation. Linda posts these vacation photos on social media with captions that emphasize family bonding and shared adventure. She tags Tyler and Madison by name while referring to me generically as part of the whole family, a designation that includes me without specifically identifying my presence or contribution to the experience. Professional achievements receive the same differentiated treatment that colors every aspect of our family interactions. Tyler's athletic accomplishments generate extended discussions about his potential, his dedication, his bright future in sports or sports-related career. Linda maintains a scrapbook of his newspaper clippings, tournament brackets, and team photos, documenting his journey with the thoroughness of a professional archivist. Madison's social successes earn similar attention and preservation. Her cheerleading performances, homecoming court nominations, and academic improvements are celebrated with dinner reservations, shopping trips, and extended phone calls to relatives who receive detailed updates about her progress and potential. My professional accomplishments disappear into conversational black holes where recognition goes to die quietly. When I received the district's Teacher of the Year nomination last spring, Linda acknowledged the achievement with a brief comment about how nice it must feel to be appreciated at work. When I was selected to present at the state education conference, she mentioned that the timing was inconvenient because it conflicted with Tyler's playoff game. The local newspaper featured an article about my innovative reading program that helped struggling students improve their literacy skills by an average of 2 grade levels in a single academic year. The story included photos of my classroom, quotes from grateful parents, and recognition from the school superintendent about the program's success. Linda never mentioned seeing the article, despite the fact that Miss Williams from next door brought her a copy and complimented my work enthusiastically during one of their morning conversations. Tyler's mediocre academic performance generates more family discussion than my professional achievements, because Linda frames his struggles as challenges to overcome, rather than evidence of limitation. When he failed algebra twice, she hired expensive tutors and blamed the teacher's incompetence for not recognizing his learning style. When he was suspended for fighting, she arranged meetings with school administrators to discuss how they could better support his emotional needs during this difficult transition to adulthood. Madison's shopping habits and social drama receive more attention than my graduate coursework because Linda treats her daughter's experiences as worthy of analysis and support. When Madison spent $300 on a dress she wore once, Linda defended the purchase as an investment in her daughter's confidence. When Madison fought with her best friend over a boy, Linda spent hours analyzing the situation and offering strategic advice about navigating complex social relationships. My financial struggles and personal challenges exist in the family's peripheral vision, acknowledged when they become impossible to ignore but never elevated to the level of concern that Tyler and Madison's issues automatically receive. When my car needed expensive repairs last year, Linda suggested I find a more reliable used vehicle rather than offering the family financial assistance that Tyler and Madison receive automatically for their various emergencies and desires. The contrast becomes most painful during medical emergencies or health concerns, situations where family support should transcend normal dynamics and unite everyone around shared concern for each other's well-being. When Tyler broke his ankle during baseball season, the entire family rallied around his recovery process. Linda took time off work to drive him to physical therapy appointments. Dad hired a private trainer to help maintain his fitness during rehabilitation, and Madison organized meals for busy days when Linda couldn't cook. When I contracted pneumonia during my second year of teaching, requiring hospitalization and 2 weeks of recovery time, Linda called once to check on my condition, and mentioned that she hoped I'd be better soon because Tyler had a tournament coming up and she needed to focus her attention on his preparation. No offers to bring food, no visits to the hospital, no assistance with the errands that were impossible to manage while recovering from a serious respiratory infection. The pattern extends to emotional support during difficult personal experiences that test family bonds and reveal the true depth of relationship. When Tyler went through a difficult breakup with his high school girlfriend, Linda spent weeks analyzing the relationship dynamics, offering comfort food, and arranging distracting activities to help him process his feelings. She encouraged him to express his emotions, validated his disappointment, and assured him that better relationships awaited in his future. When my college boyfriend broke up with me through a text message after 3 years together, Linda's response was a brief comment about how these things happen, and young people shouldn't get too serious anyway. No extended conversations about my feelings, no comfort food, no special attention to help me navigate the emotional complexity of losing someone I'd planned to marry. Family financial planning discussions reveal the starkest evidence of my excluded status within the Mitchell household hierarchy. Linda and Dad regularly discuss college funding strategies for Tyler and Madison, researching investment options and savings plans that will ensure their children can attend their preferred universities without accumulating debt. These conversations happen openly at dinner tables and during family meetings where my presence is ignored despite my proximity to the planning process. My college education was funded through academic scholarships, part-time jobs, and student loans that I'm still repaying 5 years after graduation. When I asked about family financial assistance during my junior year, Linda explained that my scholarship covered most expenses and suggested that learning financial responsibility would benefit my character development. The conversation lasted approximately 3 minutes and never resumed despite my mounting financial stress as graduation approached. Career guidance follows the same pattern of differential investment in family members' professional development. Tyler receives extensive counseling about his athletic potential, connections to college scouts, and financial support for training camps that might enhance his scholarship opportunity. Dad attends every game, maintains relationships with coaches, and treats Tyler's sports career like a business venture worthy of serious investment and strategic planning. Madison's career exploration includes shopping trips to college campuses, meetings with guidance counselors, and family discussions about various professional paths that might suit her interests and personality. Linda researches different degree programs, arranges informational interviews with professionals in fields that interest Madison, and treats her daughter's career development as a collaborative family project. My career path evolved through independent research, self-funded exploration, and decisions made without family input or support. When I decided to pursue education as my professional focus, Linda's only comment was that teaching offered good benefits and reasonable job security. No discussion about my passion for helping children learn, no interest in my specific areas of expertise, no recognition that my career choice reflected genuine calling rather than practical convenience. The most devastating aspect of this family dynamic isn't the individual incidents of exclusion or differential treatment, but the cumulative effect of 20 years of systematic marginalization that has shaped my identity and self-perception in ways I'm only beginning to understand. I've learned to expect nothing, ask for little, and find validation outside the family structure that supposedly defines my primary relationships. My professional life provides the recognition and appreciation that's absent from my family interaction. My students respond to my teaching with enthusiasm and genuine affection. Their parents express gratitude for my dedication to their children's educational development, and my colleagues treat me as a valued team member whose contributions matter to our shared mission. The contrast between my professional recognition and family invisibility creates cognitive dissonance that I've managed by compartmentalizing my life into separate spheres that rarely intersect. At school, I'm Sarah Mitchell, award-winning educator whose innovative teaching methods help struggling students discover their potential. At family gatherings, I'm Sarah Mitchell, the leftover obligation from Dad's first marriage, whose presence is tolerated but not celebrated. This compartmentalization works most of the time, but breaks down during moments when the two spheres collide and force me to confront the fundamental contradiction in how I'm perceived by different groups of people who know me in different contexts. When my principal called to congratulate me on my conference presentation, Linda answered the phone and took a message without asking about the nature of the call. When parents stop me at grocery stores to thank me for helping their children develop confidence and academic skills, Linda stands nearby looking confused about why strangers recognize me as someone worthy of gratitude and praise. The Portland job offer represents more than career advancement or geographic relocation. It's an opportunity to escape the family dynamics that have defined my adult identity and discover who I might become in an environment where my worth isn't predetermined by 20 years of systematic marginalization. In Portland, I won't be the stepdaughter who doesn't quite belong, the reminder of Dad's previous marriage, or the responsible one whose needs come last in every family decision. But the DNA results have changed everything, revealing that my position in this family hierarchy was based on lies rather than biology, manipulation rather than genetics, Linda's agenda rather than natural family dynamics. The irony is overwhelming and devastating. I've spent 20 years trying to earn acceptance into a family where I was the only one who belonged by birth, while the children who were celebrated as the real Mitchell heirs have no biological connection to the man they call father. Now I understand why Linda seemed so nervous about the genetic testing, why she asked repeatedly about privacy protections and information sharing. She knew these results would expose the deception that shaped our family structure for 2 decades, revealing that her children's claim to Mitchell family status was entirely constructed through her marriage rather than biological inheritance. The question now isn't whether I belong in this family. The question is whether anyone else does, and whether Wanda's 20 years of lies can survive the scientific truth that's about to destroy the carefully constructed mythology she's used to justify my exclusion and their elevation. The Sunday dinner invitation arrived via Linda's typical group text message, sent to the Mitchell family with instructions about timing, dress code, and what dishes each person should contribute to the meal. These monthly gatherings serve as Linda's method of maintaining family cohesion, mandatory performances of togetherness that she documents extensively for social media and uses as evidence of her successful blended family management. I responded with my usual confirmation, offering to bring a vegetable side dish and dessert, contributions that have become my standard assignment over the year. Linda never requests specific dishes from me, instead allowing me to fill whatever gaps remain after Tyler and Madison have been assigned the more visible items like appetizers or main course accompaniments that generate compliments and conversation during the meal. The preparation ritual begins hours before the actual gathering, with Linda transforming their dining room into a magazine-worthy display of domestic perfection. She uses the good china, crystal glasses that require hand-washing, and cloth napkins that need professional pressing. Fresh flowers arranged in a centerpiece that costs more than my weekly grocery budget, candles that create ambient lighting, and place cards written in her elaborate calligraphy that assigns each family member their designated position at the carefully orchestrated table. My place card always appears in the same location, positioned between the kitchen entrance and Tyler's chair. A strategic placement that allows me to handle serving duties without disrupting the flow of conversation among the primary family members. This seating arrangement evolved naturally over years of family dinners, but reflects the same social hierarchy that governs every aspect of our household interaction. I arrive precisely at the requested time, balancing covered dishes and finding the front door already propped open in anticipation of family arrival. The house smells of Linda's signature pot roast, a recipe she inherited from her grandmother and prepares only for special occasions, or when she wants to emphasize the importance of family tradition. The aroma triggers memories of countless similar gatherings, where I've occupied the same peripheral role, contributing labor while others contribute presence. Linda greets me with her standard air kisses, careful not to disturb her makeup or elaborate hairstyle, immediately directing me toward the kitchen where my dishes can be incorporated into her presentation without disrupting the aesthetic she's spent hours perfecting. She's wearing her good jewelry, and a dress that probably cost more than I earn in a week, dressed for an occasion that warrants professional photography despite the casual family nature of our gathering. The kitchen bustles with last-minute preparations that Linda orchestrates like a conductor managing a symphony, every pot and utensil positioned according to her precise specification. She assigns me immediate tasks that require no decision-making or creativity, jobs like stirring sauces and arranging bread rolls that keep me occupied while she focuses on the more complex elements of meal preparation. Dad appears in the kitchen doorway, already dressed in his Sunday best, despite the informal nature of our gathering, seeking approval for his outfit choice and timeline for cocktail service. He treats these family dinners like business events that require strategic planning and execution, deferring to Linda's expertise while maintaining his position as the ultimate authority figure whose comfort and satisfaction drive all household decisions. His interaction with me follows the same pattern that defines our relationship across all contexts: acknowledgement without engagement, politeness without genuine interest in my experiences or perspective. He asks about my week in general terms that don't require detailed responses, nods appropriately when I mention work challenges or accomplishments, then shifts his attention to more pressing concerns like television programming or weather forecasts that affect his golf schedule. Tyler arrives 30 minutes late without apology or explanation, his tardiness accepted as normal behavior that doesn't warrant discussion or consequence. He's wearing clothes that probably cost more than my monthly car payment, designer brands that Linda purchases to ensure his appearance meets her standards for family gathering. His entrance generates immediate attention and approval, family members gathering around him to hear updates about his athletic achievements and social activities. Madison follows shortly after, also late but greeted with equal enthusiasm and forgiveness for her timing choice. She spent obvious time and money on her appearance, professional makeup and styling that creates the impression of effortless beauty while requiring significant investment and preparation. Her outfit coordinates perfectly with Linda's color scheme, a matching strategy they've developed over years of shared shopping trips and style consultation. The pre-dinner conversation revolves entirely around Tyler and Madison's recent activities, their future plans, and their various achievements that warrant family celebration and documentation. Linda guides these discussions with leading questions that encourage elaborate responses, creating opportunities for them to shine while positioning herself as the supportive mother who enables their success through her careful attention and investment. I contribute to these conversations when directly asked, but my responses receive minimal follow-up questions or genuine interest from other family members. My work experiences, personal relationships, and individual accomplishments exist in the conversational background, acknowledged briefly before attention returns to more compelling topics related to Tyler and Madison's lives and adventure. The formal dinner service begins with Linda's elaborate presentation of each dish, explanations of preparation methods and ingredient sources that transform a family meal into a culinary education experience. She describes Tyler's favorite elements of the menu, Madison's specific requests that influenced her cooking decisions, and Dad's preferences that guided her selection of wine and accompaniment. My contributed dishes receive polite acknowledgement without detailed commentary or enthusiastic consumption by other family members. The vegetable casserole disappears slowly while other items are consumed eagerly. My dessert generates brief compliments before conversation moves to other topics that command more sustained attention and interest. Table conversation follows predictable patterns that reflect the same social dynamics governing every aspect of our family interaction. Tyler dominates discussion time with detailed accounts of his athletic training, upcoming competitions, and scholarship negotiations that fascinate Dad and generate Linda's maternal pride. His stories receive careful attention, follow-up questions, and enthusiastic responses that encourage continued sharing of his experiences and perspectives. Madison's contributions focus on her social activities, academic progress, and future planning that Linda treats as collaborative family projects worthy of extensive discussion and strategic analysis. Her college selection process, career exploration, and relationship developments become group conversations where everyone offers opinions and advice that she receives as valuable input from people who care about her success and happiness. My attempts to contribute professional anecdotes or personal updates disappear into conversational voids where engagement goes to die quietly. When I mention challenging students or innovative teaching methods, the response consists of polite nodding followed by rapid subject changes to more interesting topics. When I share personal experiences or individual accomplishments, the acknowledgement feels perfunctory rather than genuine, obligation rather than enthusiasm. The most painful moments occur when my contributions to family life go unrecognized while similar efforts from Tyler and Madison receive elaborate praise and appreciation. When I clear dishes without being asked, Linda doesn't notice the assist. When Tyler carries his own plate to the kitchen, Linda thanks him effusively for being such a helpful son who always considers other people's workload. Financial discussions during these gatherings reveal the stark disparities in how family resources are allocated among the children Linda considers her responsibility. Tyler's upcoming tournament travel expenses are calculated and approved without questioning the cost or exploring alternatives that might reduce the financial burden on family resources. Madison's spring break vacation plans receive funding approval and enthusiastic support despite the elaborate nature of her proposed itinerary. When Linda mentions household budget constraints or unexpected expenses, these conversations never include consideration of reducing Tyler and Madison's allowances or entertainment budget. Instead, she identifies areas where costs can be trimmed without affecting their lifestyle or opportunities, adjustments that typically impact family activities where my participation is assumed rather than valued. The gift exchange tradition during special occasions demonstrates the same pattern of differential investment in family members' happiness and satisfaction. Tyler and Madison receive presents that reflect careful attention to their expressed desires and current interests, items they've specifically requested or mentioned wanting during previous conversations. The wrapping presentation includes elaborate bows and decorative elements that Linda purchases specially for these occasions. My gifts arrive wrapped in whatever materials Linda finds convenient, containing items she's selected based on her assessment of what I need rather than what I want or have expressed interest in acquiring. The selection process appears random rather than thoughtful, practical rather than personal, obligation rather than affection. Holiday planning sessions exclude me from decision-making processes while including Tyler and Madison as equal participants whose preferences influence final arrangements and activity selection. Christmas vacation destinations, Thanksgiving menu planning and Easter celebration logistics are discussed and decided through family meetings where my input is neither requested nor valued in the final determination. When I express preferences that differ from the group consensus or suggest alternatives that might accommodate my schedule or interests, Linda responds with mild irritation and explanations about why my suggestions aren't practical or feasible given other family members' priorities and commitment. My work obligations, financial limitations, and personal preferences are treated as obstacles to overcome rather than factors worthy of consideration in family planning process. The most devastating aspect of these gatherings isn't the individual incidents of exclusion or dismissal, but the cumulative effect of watching a family perform love and connection while systematically excluding the person who should be central to their identity and relationship. I observe Tyler and Madison receiving the unconditional acceptance and automatic support that I've spent 20 years trying to earn through perfect behavior and selfless service. Photography sessions during these events capture the same hierarchy that defines our daily interaction, with Tyler and Madison positioned naturally beside Dad, while I hover on the edges of group shots like an afterthought included for completeness rather than because anyone wants to document my presence. Linda posts these photos on social media with captions that emphasize family bonding and shared joy, tagging everyone specifically except me, who gets included in generic references to family gatherings and special occasions. The evening concludes with Tyler and Madison making plans for future activities that include family financial support and logistical assistance arrangements that Linda coordinates enthusiastically while Dad provides automatic approval for whatever resources they need to pursue their interests and opportunities. Their departure is celebrated with extended hugs, promises to stay in touch, and invitations to return soon for additional family time. My departure receives polite acknowledgement and brief thanks for my contributions to the meal, gratitude that feels obligatory rather than genuine. No invitations for additional contact, no expressions of missing my company, no interest in my plans or activities before our next scheduled family gathering. The drive home provides time for reflection on the evening's interactions and my emotional responses to familiar patterns of exclusion and marginalization. I analyze my reactions, questioning whether my sensitivity reflects realistic assessment of family dynamics or hypersensitive interpretation of normal social interactions. The self-doubt has become automatic after 20 years of gaslighting disguised as family concern for my emotional well-being. But tonight feels different because of the DNA results waiting in my apartment, scientific evidence that will reframe every interaction I've just experienced, and provide objective proof that my perceptions of exclusion reflect deliberate manipulation rather than natural family dynamic. The irony of spending another evening trying to earn acceptance from people who aren't actually related to Dad creates a bitter satisfaction that mingles with the sadness of wasted decades. The Portland job offer represents freedom from these monthly performances of belonging that leave me feeling more isolated than if I'd spent the evening alone in my apartment. In Portland, I won't have to pretend that Linda's conditional acceptance feels like family love, or that Tyler and Madison's indifference reflects sibling relationship. I can build authentic connections with people who value my presence because they choose my company rather than tolerate my existence. The decision to announce my departure tonight was supposed to provide closure and liberation, and end to 20 years of hoping for recognition that will never come from people who see me as an obligation rather than a family member. But the DNA results have complicated everything, revealing that my exclusion was based on lies rather than biology, that my outsider status was constructed rather than inherited. Tomorrow I'll have to decide whether to expose Linda's deception or simply disappear to Portland with the knowledge that I was the only real Mitchell child all along. The truth would vindicate 20 years of feeling like I didn't belong, but it would also destroy the family structure that Tyler and Madison have built their identities around, revealing that their sense of belonging was as artificial as my sense of exclusion. The evening ends with me alone in my kitchen, reading the DNA results one more time, and trying to process the magnitude of Linda's deception. For 20 years she's positioned herself as the guardian of Mitchell family authenticity while protecting children who had no biological claim to the identity they wore so confidently. The revelation transforms every memory of exclusion from personal rejection into deliberate manipulation designed to hide her own family's fraudulent status. The question now isn't whether I have the courage to leave this family behind. The question is whether I have the strength to expose the truth that will destroy the lies that have defined all our lives for 2 decades. The next morning arrives with unusual silence in the Mitchell household, broken only by the distant hum of Linda's coffee maker and the rustle of Dad reading his newspaper in the breakfast nook. I've barely slept, spending most of the night staring at the DNA results spread across my kitchen table, trying to process the implications of what I've discovered, and decide how to handle information that will fundamentally alter everyone's understanding of our family structure. My phone buzzes with a text from Dr. Amanda Rodriguez at MedGen Laboratories, requesting a callback to discuss some unexpected findings in our family's genetic testing results. Her message indicates she has additional information that requires clarification and suggests scheduling a conference call with all family members involved in the testing process. The timing feels ominous, suggesting that the laboratory has discovered the same discrepancies I found in their initial report. I call Dr. Rodriguez immediately, my hands trembling as I dial the number she provided in her message. Her voice carries the professional caution of someone who's delivered difficult news to families before. Measured and careful as she explains that their quality control review has identified some unusual patterns in our test results that warrant further discussion and possible retesting to ensure accuracy. Rodriguez begins, her tone suggesting she's chosen her words carefully. I'm calling because our laboratory protocols require us to verify unexpected findings with family members before finalizing report. Your genetic testing has revealed some relationships that don't align with the family structure information you provided during the initial consultation. I listen as she explains the technical details of genetic marker analysis, the statistical probability calculations that determine biological relationships, and the quality control measures that make laboratory errors extremely unlikely. Her explanation confirms what I already discovered through my own research, but hearing the information from a medical professional makes the reality feel more concrete and undeniable. Specifically, Rodriguez continues, the test results indicate that you are Robert Mitchell's biological daughter with 99% certainty. However, Tyler Mitchell and Madison Mitchell show no genetic markers consistent with being Mr. Mitchell's biological children. These findings suggest a different family structure than what was indicated in your original paperwork. The conversation continues for 20 minutes as Dr. Rodriguez explains the implications of these findings for Dad's medical treatment, the importance of accurate genetic information for his surgical planning, and the laboratory's recommendation that we schedule a family meeting to discuss the results and determine how to proceed with his healthcare needs. I agree to coordinate the family meeting, knowing that this conversation will force a confrontation I've been dreading since discovering the truth yesterday evening. Rodriguez suggests scheduling the discussion for this afternoon, emphasizing that Dad's surgery is scheduled for next week, and his medical team needs accurate genetic information to ensure the safest possible treatment approach. After ending the call, I sit in my apartment trying to formulate a strategy for revealing information that will destroy the carefully constructed mythology Linda has used to justify 20 years of systematic exclusion and preferential treatment. The irony is overwhelming and devastating, but the truth can no longer be hidden behind polite family dynamics and unspoken assumptions about biological relationships. I drive to the Mitchell house at noon, finding Dad in his home office reviewing insurance paperwork related to his upcoming surgery. He looks older than his 52 years, stress lines deepened by concerns about his medical condition and the complex treatment plan his cardiologist has recommended. When I explain that the genetic testing laboratory needs to discuss our results with the entire family, his expression shifts from mild curiosity to genuine concern. "Is there a problem with my medical information?" he asks, clearly worried that genetic testing might have revealed additional health risks that could complicate his surgical planning. Dr. Peterson said this testing was routine, just precautionary measures to ensure they had complete information for the procedure. I explained that Dr. Rodriguez needs to clarify some unexpected findings with all family members present, emphasizing that the discussion relates to genetic relationships rather than medical condition. Dad agrees to gather everyone for a conference call, though his confusion is evident as he tries to understand why family relationship information would require clarification or discussion. Linda appears in the office doorway as we're scheduling the family meeting, her expression immediately shifting to anxiety when she realizes the genetic testing has generated follow-up questions from the laboratory. Her nervousness is palpable and telling, her questions about privacy protections and information sharing revealing knowledge that she's been hiding information the testing might expose. "What kind of unexpected finding?" Linda asks, her voice carrying a tension that seems disproportionate to routine medical testing. "I thought this was just standard genetic screening for Robert's surgery. Why would they need to discuss family relationships? Isn't that information already clear from the paperwork we submit?" I watch Linda's reaction carefully, noting the way her hands tremble slightly as she asks about the laboratory's findings and the specific information they want to clarify with our family. Her behavior suggests she knows exactly what the testing has revealed and understands that her carefully guarded secrets are about to be exposed to everyone she's deceived for the past 20 years. Tyler and Madison arrive within an hour, summoned by Linda's urgent phone calls that emphasized the importance of their immediate presence for a family meeting about Dad's medical situation. They appear confused but cooperative, assuming that genetic testing has revealed health information that requires family discussion and planning for Dad's upcoming surgery. Rodriguez joins our conversation through speakerphone at exactly 2 o'clock. Her professional demeanor providing stability as she begins explaining the genetic testing results to our assembled family. She reviews the technical aspects of DNA analysis, the statistical measures used to determine biological relationships, and the quality control protocols that ensure accuracy in laboratory findings. "The purpose of today's discussion," Rodriguez explains, "is to clarify some unexpected results in your family's genetic testing that don't align with the relationship information provided during the initial consultation. These findings are important for Mitchell's medical treatment planning and need to be addressed before his surgery next week." The room falls silent as Dr. Rodriguez begins reviewing the specific test results, explaining each family member's genetic markers and their relationship to Robert Mitchell's DNA. Her voice remains steady and professional as she delivers information that will fundamentally alter everyone's understanding of our family structure and biological connections. Sarah Mitchell's test results confirm a biological parent-child relationship with Robert Mitchell with 9% statistical certainty, Dr. Rodriguez states clearly. However, Tyler Mitchell's genetic markers show no evidence of biological relationship to Robert Mitchell. Similarly,
Madison Mitchell's DNA analysis indicates no genetic connection to Robert Mitchell. The silence that follows this announcement feels thick and suffocating, broken only by the sound of Linda's sharp intake of breath and Dad's confused request for Dr. Rodriguez to repeat her finding. Tyler and Madison stare at each other in shock, their expressions reflecting the disorientation of having their fundamental identity assumptions challenged by scientific evidence. "I don't understand," Dad says slowly, his voice reflecting genuine confusion rather than anger or accusation. "Tyler and Madison are my children. They've been my children for 20 years. How can genetic testing indicate otherwise? There must be some mistake in the laboratory analysis or the sample collection process." Dr. Rodriguez patiently explains that laboratory errors are extremely unlikely given their quality control measures and that the genetic markers are definitive in determining biological relationships. She offers to repeat the testing if the family prefers, but emphasizes that the current results are scientifically reliable and consistent with established genetic analysis protocol. Linda's silence becomes increasingly conspicuous as the conversation continues, her refusal to participate in the discussion or offer explanations for the unexpected findings creating an atmosphere of growing suspicion among other family members. Tyler and Madison look to her for clarification, clearly expecting their mother to provide logical explanations for results that contradict everything they've believed about their identity and family connection. "Mom," Madison finally asks, her voice small and uncertain, "why aren't you saying anything? Don't you think these results are wrong? Shouldn't you be asking about retesting or explaining how this mistake happened?" Linda's response comes in barely audible whispers, her voice carrying 20 years of guilt and deception as she finally acknowledges the truth she's hidden from everyone, including her own children. "The results aren't wrong," she admits, avoiding eye contact with anyone in the room. "Tyler and Madison aren't Robert's biological children. They're my children from my previous relationship, but Robert isn't their father." The confession transforms the atmosphere in Dad's office from confusion to shock, anger, and disbelief as family members process the magnitude of Linda's deception and its implications for relationships they've built their identities around. Dad stares at Linda with an expression that combines hurt, betrayal, and disorientation as he tries to understand how she's maintained this lie throughout their entire marriage. "You've known this for 20 years?" Dad asks, his voice barely controlled as he struggles to comprehend the scope of Linda's deception. "You've watched me raise Tyler and Madison as my own children, support them financially, make decisions about their futures, while knowing they weren't actually my biological children." Tyler's response is immediate and defensive, his voice rising as he protests the genetic testing results and their implications for his identity and relationship with the man he's called father for most of his life. "This doesn't change anything," he insists, though his voice carries uncertainty that contradicts his confident words. "Biology doesn't determine family relationships. Dad is still our father regardless of what some laboratory test indicate." Madison's reaction is quieter but equally distressed, tears forming in her eyes as she processes information that challenges her fundamental understanding of herself and her place in the family structure she's navigated confidently for 20 years. "I don't understand why Mom would keep this secret," she whispers. "Why wouldn't she tell us the truth about our biological father? What else has she been hiding from us?" Dr. Rodriguez maintains her professional composure throughout these emotional revelations, offering to provide additional counseling resources and genetic counseling services to help the family process these unexpected findings and their implications for relationships and medical planning.
She emphasizes that her role is purely informational, providing scientific data while families determine how to integrate this information into their understanding of their relationships and futures. The conversation with Dr. Rodriguez concludes with her recommendation that the family take time to process these findings before making decisions about Dad's medical treatment planning and the genetic information that will be provided to his surgical team. She offers to schedule follow-up consultations if additional genetic counseling would be helpful for family members struggling to understand the implications of these discoveries. After ending the conference call, our family sits in Dad's office, surrounded by 20 years of photographs, awards, and memorabilia, that suddenly feel like evidence of an elaborate deception rather than celebrations of genuine family connections. The silence stretches uncomfortably as everyone processes information that requires fundamental reassessment of relationships, identities, and assumptions about family loyalty and biological connections. Dad breaks the silence first, his voice carrying hurt and confusion, as he addresses Linda directly about her motivations for maintaining such an elaborate deception throughout their entire marriage. "Why didn't you tell me the truth when we got married? I would have loved Tyler and Madison regardless of their biological father. Why create this lie and maintain it for 20 years? Linda's explanation emerges slowly and defensively, her justifications revealing years of fear about losing the financial security and social status that marriage to Robert Mitchell provided for herself and her children. She describes her first marriage as abusive and unstable, her determination to protect Tyler and Madison from contact with their biological father, and her belief that allowing Robert to adopt them legally would provide the best possible future for her family. "I was afraid you wouldn't want to raise another man's children," Linda admits, her voice carrying decades of guilt and rationalization. "I was afraid you'd leave if you knew the truth, and Tyler and Madison would lose the stability and opportunities you could provide. I thought I was protecting everyone by creating a family structure that worked for all of us." The revelation of Linda's deception transforms my position in the family from excluded outsider to vindicated insider. But the satisfaction I expected to feel is overshadowed by sadness for the relationships that have been built on lies, and the pain that truth-telling is causing everyone involved. Tyler and Madison are discovering that their identities and sense of belonging were constructed rather than inherited, while Dad is learning that his marriage was based on fundamental dishonesty about the most basic aspects of family structure. My own emotional response is complex and conflicted, combining vindication with empathy for family members who are experiencing the disorientation I've felt for 20 years. The irony of being the only biological Mitchell child while being treated as the outsider provides a bitter satisfaction, but watching Tyler and Madison process their identity crisis reminds me of my own struggles with belonging and acceptance within family structure. Tyler's response to these revelations evolves from denial to anger as he processes the implications of Linda's deception for his relationship with Dad and his understanding of his own identity. "So everything I thought I knew about myself is a lie?" he asks, his voice carrying hurt and confusion. "My athletic abilities, my interests, my personality traits. I thought I inherited from Dad. None of that is real." Madison's questions focus on her biological father and the family history Linda has hidden from her throughout her entire life. "Who is our real father? Why haven't we ever met him? What other family members do we have that we don't know about? How much of our family history have you kept secret from us?" Dad's processing of Linda's confession reveals the depth of his emotional investment in Tyler and Madison, despite the absence of biological connections. His genuine love for children he's raised as his own regardless of genetic relationship. "Biology doesn't change how I feel about Tyler and Madison," he states firmly. "They're my children in every way that matters, and this information doesn't alter my commitment to their future or my love for them." The family meeting extends into the evening as everyone struggles to process information that requires fundamental reassessment of relationships, identities, and future planning. Tyler and Madison grapple with identity questions they've never needed to consider, while Dad and Linda negotiate the trust issues that Linda's deception has created in their marriage relationship. My own role in these discussions shifts dramatically from peripheral family member to central figure whose experiences and perspectives suddenly become relevant to understanding family dynamics and relationship patterns. For the first time in 20 years, my observations about differential treatment and exclusion are validated rather than dismissed, my feelings about belonging acknowledged rather than minimized. The immediate practical implications of these revelations include decisions about Dad's medical treatment, planning, legal questions about inheritance and family financial planning, and emotional considerations about how to rebuild family relationships based on honesty rather than deception. Tyler and Madison's college funding, insurance coverage, and legal status as Dad's children require review and potential modification based on genetic relationships rather than assumed family structure. Linda's position in the family becomes precarious as trust issues emerge around her 20-year deception and the systematic exclusion of the only biological Mitchell child, while elevating children who had no genetic claim to Mitchell family status. Her motivations for maintaining these lies, while understandable, created psychological damage for everyone involved and destroyed the foundation of honesty that healthy family relationships require. The revelation also explains Linda's nervous behavior during the genetic testing process, her repeated questions about privacy protections, and her attempts to discourage family members from participating in testing that she knew would expose her carefully guarded secret. Her anxiety wasn't about medical information but about the family structure lies that genetic analysis would inevitably reveal. Tyler and Madison's response to learning about their biological father creates additional complexity as they decide whether to pursue contact with family members they've never known existed. Linda's protection of them from an allegedly abusive biological father may have been justified 20 years ago, but their adult status now allows them to make independent decisions about family relationships and connection. Dad's medical situation provides urgency to these family discussions, as his surgical team needs accurate genetic information for treatment planning purposes. The discovery that Sarah is his only biological child affects medical decision-making protocols, emergency contact designations, and genetic risk assessments that influence surgical approaches and post-operative care planning. The Portland job offer that was supposed to represent my escape from family dynamics based on exclusion and marginalization now feels less urgent, given the vindication provided by genetic testing results. However, the emotional damage from 20 years of systematic exclusion can't be erased by scientific validation, and rebuilding family relationships requires genuine effort from everyone involved rather than simply acknowledging past mistakes. The future of Mitchell family relationships depends on everyone's ability to process these revelations honestly and rebuild connections based on truth rather than the lies that have defined our interactions for 2 decades. Tyler and Madison must decide how to integrate this new information into their identity and relationship with Dad, while Linda faces consequences for maintaining deceptions that created psychological damage for everyone involved. My own decision about the Portland job offer becomes more complex as family dynamics shift to acknowledge my legitimate position as Dad's only biological child. The recognition I've sought for 20 years is finally available, but the emotional cost of those decades of exclusion can't be eliminated through belated acknowledgement of genetic relationships and family status. The story concludes with our family beginning the difficult process of rebuilding relationships based on honesty rather than deception, with everyone learning to navigate new dynamics that acknowledge biological realities while maintaining the emotional connections that have developed over 20 years of shared experiences. The truth has provided vindication but also created new challenges that require ongoing commitment to honest communication and mutual respect. The DNA results that were supposed to provide routine medical information for Dad's surgery instead revealed family secrets that transformed everyone's understanding of relationships, identity, and belonging within the Mitchell family structure. The irony of discovering that the excluded family member was actually the only legitimate heir provides satisfaction but also highlights the psychological damage created by systematic exclusion based on lies rather than biological reality. The morning sun streams through the windows of Dad's recovery room at Springfield General Hospital, where he's been recuperating from his successful heart surgery for the past week. The genetic information provided by my DNA test results allowed his surgical team to customize his treatment protocol, avoiding medications that could have caused complications based on his specific genetic markers. Dr. Peterson credited the accurate family medical history with enabling them to achieve the best possible surgical outcome and recovery timeline. I sit beside his hospital bed reading emails from my students in Portland, where I've been teaching for 3 months now at Roosevelt Elementary School. The transition to Oregon exceeded my expectations in every way, providing the professional recognition and personal fulfillment I'd been seeking throughout my career in Springfield. My new colleagues treat me as a valued team member whose innovative teaching methods have already improved reading scores among struggling 4th-grade students by an average of 18%. The principal, Miss Catherine Wells, has nominated me for the district's Innovation in Education Award, based on my trauma-informed teaching approaches and the measurable impact on student achievement in my short time at the school. The nomination letter emphasized my ability to connect with students who had been written off by previous teachers, helping them discover academic confidence they never knew they possessed. Dad stirs in his hospital bed, his eyes opening slowly as he emerges from the medicated sleep that's been helping his body heal from the complex cardiac procedure. His recovery has progressed smoothly according to his medical team, with no complications arising from the surgical intervention or the post-operative care protocol designed around his specific genetic profile. "Sarah," he says softly, his voice still weak from the anesthesia but carrying genuine warmth. "You came back from Portland for my surgery. That means more to me than you know." I squeeze his hand gently, noting how much frailer he appears after the surgery despite the successful outcome. The past 6 months have aged him considerably, not just from his medical condition, but from the emotional stress of rebuilding family relationships after Linda's confession destroyed 2 decades of carefully constructed family mythology. "Of course I came back," I reply, meaning every word despite the complicated emotions surrounding our family situation. "You're my father, and family shows up for each other during important moments like this." The irony isn't lost on either of us that I'm the family member sitting beside his hospital bed while Tyler and Madison remain in Springfield, struggling to process their identity crisis and relationship with Linda following the revelation of their true parentage. Their response to Dad's surgery has been conflicted, their presence sporadic and uncomfortable as they navigate relationships that feel fundamentally altered by genetic truth. Linda enters the room carrying coffee and looking exhausted from weeks of sleeping in hospital chairs and managing the emotional fallout from her confession. Her marriage to Dad survived the revelation of her 20-year deception, but their relationship requires ongoing counseling and rebuilding of trust that may take years to fully restore. "The nurse said Robert's vital signs look excellent this morning," Linda reports, her voice carrying the careful politeness that has characterized her interactions with me since the DNA results forced her to acknowledge my legitimate position in the family hierarchy. "Peterson expects he'll be able to go home by the weekend if his recovery continues at this pace." The transformation in Linda's behavior toward me represents the most dramatic change resulting from the genetic testing revelation. She now treats me with the respect and consideration she previously reserved for Tyler and Madison, though our interactions carry the awkwardness of people learning to navigate relationships that have been fundamentally redefined by truth. Tyler appears in the doorway looking uncertain about his welcome, his relationship with Dad strained by the knowledge that their connection was built on deception rather than biological inheritance. He struggled more than Madison with integrating the revelation into his identity, questioning whether his athletic abilities and interests were genuine or merely attempts to please a man he believed was his biological father. "How are you feeling today?" Tyler asks, using the title he's decided to maintain despite the absence of genetic connection. His voice carries the tentative quality of someone rebuilding a relationship from a foundation of honesty rather than assumption. Dad's face brightens considerably upon seeing Tyler, his expression reflecting the genuine love he feels for the young man he's raised for 20 years regardless of biological relationships. "Much better. The doctors say my heart is responding well to the surgery, and I should be back to normal activities within a few months." The use of son isn't accidental or thoughtless, but represents Dad's deliberate choice to maintain parental relationships based on emotional connection and shared history rather than genetic inheritance. His response to the DNA revelations has been remarkably mature and loving, emphasizing that family bonds transcend biological relationships when they're built on genuine care and mutual commitment. Madison follows Tyler into the room, her approach to Dad's bedside more confident than her brother's, but still carrying the uncertainty that has characterized all our family interactions since Linda's confession. She's adapted to the new family dynamics more easily than Tyler, perhaps because her identity was less dependent on genetic inheritance and more focused on social relationships and future planning. "I brought your favorite magazines from home," Madison tells Dad, arranging the publications on his bedside table with the careful attention to detail that has always characterized her interactions with him. "And Linda said to tell you that Miss Williams is taking care of feeding the cat while you're in the hospital." The mundane details of daily life provide stability during this period of relationship reconstruction,
offering familiar routines and shared responsibilities that transcend the complicated emotions surrounding genetic revelations and family restructuring. Dad's recovery becomes a focal point that unites everyone around shared concern and practical support rather than forcing confrontation of deeper relationship issues. Peterson enters the room during his afternoon rounds, his presence immediately commanding attention as he reviews Dad's chart and examines his surgical incision. His professional demeanor provides reassurance about Dad's medical progress, while his questions about family support systems acknowledge the importance of emotional stability during recovery periods. Mr. Mitchell's healing is progressing exactly as we hoped, Peterson announces after completing his examination. The genetic information provided by your family testing allowed us to avoid several medications that could have complicated his recovery, and his response to treatment has been optimal. The doctor's comments underscore the practical importance of the DNA testing that revealed our family's complicated genetic relationship. While the emotional consequences have been challenging for everyone involved, the medical benefits have been substantial and potentially life-saving for Dad's surgical outcome and ongoing cardiac care. We'll want to schedule follow-up appointments for the next several months. Peterson continues, and Sarah's genetic information will be particularly valuable for monitoring inherited cardiac risk factors and planning preventive care strategy. The recognition of my importance in Dad's medical care represents a complete reversal from my previous position in family decision-making processes. Where Linda previously managed all medical information and treatment decisions, my genetic connection to Dad now makes me a crucial participant in his healthcare planning and emergency contact protocols. After Dr. Peterson leaves, our family settles into the comfortable routine that has developed during Dad's hospitalization. Tyler and Madison take turns reading to him from newspapers and magazines. Linda manages communication with his business associates and insurance providers, and I coordinate with his medical team and handle details related to his care plan and recovery timeline. The division of responsibilities reflects a more equitable distribution of family obligations than existed before the DNA revelation, with everyone contributing according to their abilities and availability rather than the previous hierarchy that excluded me from important decisions, while overburdening Linda with management duties. She resented. My phone buzzes with a text message from Emma Thompson, my best friend who remained in Springfield and has been providing updates about local news and mutual acquaintances during my time in Portland. Her message includes a photo from the Springfield Gazette featuring an article about my teaching award in Oregon, recognition that has generated attention in our hometown and pride among former colleagues who knew my work was undervalued by my family. Look at this. I show Dad the newspaper article, which includes a photo of me receiving the Innovation in Education Award, and quotes from Roosevelt Elementary's principal about my impact on student achievement. The Springfield paper picked up the story about my teaching award in Portland. Dad reads the article carefully, his expression reflecting genuine pride in my professional accomplishments and recognition that he failed to acknowledge adequately during my years of teaching in Springfield. This is incredible, Sarah. I had no idea your work was receiving this level of recognition. I'm sorry I didn't pay better attention to your achievements when you were here. His apology carries the weight of 20 years of overlooked accomplishments and dismissed contributions, acknowledgement that comes too late to erase the hurt, but provides validation that helps heal some of the emotional damage created by systematic exclusion. The recognition feels particularly meaningful coming from Dad during his vulnerability and recovery, when defenses are lowered and honest communication becomes possible. Tyler and Madison read the article with expressions that combined surprise with newfound respect for achievements they never bothered to notice during our years of shared family life. Their previous dismissal of my career as ordinary and unremarkable now appears ignorant and short-sighted, given the professional recognition I've earned from educators who understand the complexity and importance of my work. I never realized teaching could be this competitive or that you were this successful at it, Madison admits, her voice carrying genuine surprise rather than condescension. The article makes it sound like you're some kind of expert in your field. Her comment reflects the family's general ignorance about my professional life and accomplishments, assumptions based on Linda's dismissive attitude toward my career rather than actual understanding of educational work or my specific contributions to student success. The recognition forces everyone to reconsider their previous assessment of my achievements and professional status. Linda's response to the newspaper article reveals the complexity of her feelings about my success and recognition, emotions that combine genuine pride with guilt about her role in minimizing my accomplishments during my years in Springfield. "You've always been talented, Sarah. I'm sorry if I didn't express that appreciation clearly when you were living here." Her apology acknowledges the systematic minimization of my achievements that was part of her strategy for maintaining Tyler and Madison's elevated status within the family hierarchy. Recognition of my success challenges the narrative she constructed about family capabilities and contributions, forcing her to confront the damage caused by her deliberate exclusion tactic. The afternoon visiting hours bring a steady stream of friends and colleagues who've come to check on Dad's recovery and offer support during his hospitalization. Several former teaching colleagues from Springfield Elementary visit, bringing flowers and expressing excitement about my success in Portland, while noting how much they miss working with me. Mrs. Patricia Williams, our elderly neighbor who has maintained the friendship with our family for over 15 years, arrives with homemade soup and updates about neighborhood activities. Her conversation with Dad includes enthusiastic praise for my teaching award and comments about how proud my mother would have been to see my professional recognition and success. "Jennifer always said Sarah had a special gift for understanding children," Mrs. Williams reminisces, referring to my biological mother whose memory has been largely absent from family conversations during the years of Linda's marriage to Dad. "She would be so proud to see how Sarah has used that gift to help struggling students find their potential." The reference to my mother introduces a perspective that has been missing from our family narratives: acknowledgement of genetic and personality traits that connect me to my biological parent rather than the Mitchell family characteristics that Tyler and Madison were assumed to have inherited. Mrs. Williams provides continuity with my pre-Linda family history that validates my identity independent of the family dynamics that developed after Dad's remarriage. As evening approaches, Tyler and Madison prepare to leave for their respective activities, their lives continuing with the normal rhythms of young adults, despite the family upheaval caused by genetic revelation. Their adaptation to the new family structure has been gradual but steady, with acceptance that their relationship with Dad transcends biological connections, while acknowledging my legitimate position as his only genetic child. "I'll be back tomorrow after my classes," Tyler tells Dad, his voice carrying the affection and commitment that have characterized their relationship regardless of genetic inheritance. "Let me know if you need anything before that." Madison's departure includes similar expressions of care and commitment, her relationship with Dad apparently unshaken by the discovery that their connection was built on emotional bonds rather than biological inheritance. "I'll bring you some magazines from the college library tomorrow, and Linda said she's making your favorite dinner for when you come home." Their ability to maintain loving relationships with Dad, despite the absence of genetic connection, provides hope for family stability and continuity despite the dramatic revelations that challenged everyone's assumptions about identity and belonging. The strength of their emotional bonds suggests that family relationships can survive truth-telling and restructuring when they're based on genuine care and mutual commitment. Linda's evening routine includes coordination with Dad's medical team, communication with his business associates about modified work schedules during recovery, and management of household responsibilities that have increased during his hospitalization. Her competence in handling these practical matters demonstrates the skills that made her valuable to Dad's life despite the deception that undermined trust in their marriage. "I'll stay here tonight again," Linda tells Dad, as visiting hours conclude. "The nurse said you might need help if you wake up disoriented from the pain medication, and I want to be here if you need anything." Her dedication to Dad's care during his recovery reflects genuine love and commitment that exist alongside the guilt and regret about her 20-year deception. Their marriage counseling sessions have helped them begin rebuilding trust and communication, though the process of healing from such fundamental dishonesty requires ongoing effort and professional support. I prepare to return to my hotel for the night, my flight back to Portland scheduled for tomorrow evening after Dad's expected discharge from the hospital. The time in Springfield has provided closure and healing that I didn't expect when I reluctantly agreed to return for his surgery, opportunities for honest communication and relationship rebuilding that seemed impossible before the DNA revelations forced truth-telling. Sarah, Dad calls as I gather my belongings, his voice carrying the emotional weight of someone who recognizes the significance of this moment. I know I can't undo 20 years of not seeing you clearly, but I want you to know that discovering you're my only biological child doesn't change how I feel about Tyler and Madison. It does make me realize how badly I failed to appreciate the daughter who was actually mine all along. His words provide the acknowledgement and validation I've sought throughout my adult life, recognition that comes with the bitter satisfaction of being proven right about family dynamics that everyone else denied or minimized. The vindication feels less triumphant than I expected, tempered by sadness about the wasted years and missed opportunities for genuine family connection. I understand, Dad, I reply, meaning it despite the complicated emotions surrounding our relationship reconstruction. Family is complicated, and people make mistakes. What matters now is that we're being honest with each other and trying to build better relationships going forward. The forgiveness I offer isn't complete or unconditional, but represents my commitment to prioritizing Dad's health and recovery over past grievances that can't be changed through continued resentment or emotional withdrawal. The DNA revelations provided scientific validation for my feelings of exclusion, but healing requires moving beyond vindication toward genuine relationship repair. My return to Portland the next evening includes reflection on the family visit and the changes that have occurred in everyone's relationships during the months since the genetic testing revelation. The recognition and professional success I've found in Oregon provide the personal fulfillment and validation that were absent from my Springfield years, but the family reconciliation offers emotional healing that complements my professional achievement. The students in my Portland classroom welcome me back with enthusiasm and artwork they created during my absence, their genuine affection providing the emotional sustenance that sustains my commitment to teaching despite the challenges and complexities of working with struggling learners. Their progress and growth validate my professional choices and reinforce my sense of purpose and contribution. Principal Wells greets me with updates about the district's interest in expanding my trauma-informed teaching methods to other schools, recognition that my innovative approaches are generating measurable improvements in student outcomes and deserve broader implementation.
The professional respect and administrative support I receive in Portland contrast sharply with the undervaluation I experienced during my years in Springfield's school system. We've had inquiries from 3 other elementary schools about adopting your reading intervention strategies, Mrs. Wells informs me during our reunion meeting. The district is considering offering you a curriculum development position that would allow you to train other teachers in your methods while maintaining your classroom responsibilities. The career advancement opportunities available in Portland exceed anything I could have achieved in Springfield, where my professional growth was limited by local attitudes and family dynamics that undermined my confidence and ambition. The geographic distance from family pressures has allowed me to flourish professionally and personally in ways that seemed impossible while living under the shadow of systematic exclusion. My apartment in Portland has become a sanctuary that reflects my authentic interests and personality rather than the careful neutrality I maintained in Springfield to avoid family conflict and criticism. The space includes professional recognition awards, student artwork, and personal belongings that express my identity independent of family expectations and limitations. The phone call from Dad 2 weeks after my return to Portland includes updates about his continued recovery and gradual return to normal activities, but also more personal conversation about our relationship and his regrets about the years of missed opportunities for genuine father-daughter connection. His voice carries strength and clarity that were absent during his hospitalization, suggesting that his physical healing is progressing successfully. I've been thinking about what you said about building better relationships going forward, Dad tells me during our conversation. I want you to know that I'm proud of what you've accomplished in Portland, and I regret not supporting your career ambitions when you were here in Springfield. His acknowledgement provides closure for years of feeling professionally undervalued and personally overlooked by the family member whose opinion mattered most to my sense of identity and self-worth. The recognition comes too late to change past experiences, but offers hope for future interactions based on mutual respect and genuine appreciation. The conversation includes his invitation for me to return to Springfield for Christmas, with assurance that family gatherings will be restructured to acknowledge my legitimate position as his daughter, while maintaining inclusive relationships with Tyler and Madison that honor their emotional connections despite the absence of genetic inheritance. The prospect of holiday celebrations based on honesty rather than deception feels both appealing and anxiety-provoking. 3 months later, I stand in Dad's living room on Christmas morning, watching our family navigate holiday traditions that have been modified to reflect a new understanding of our relationships and genetic connection. The gift exchange includes thoughtful presents that reflect genuine knowledge of each person's interests and preferences, rather than the perfunctory obligations that characterized previous celebrations. Dad presents me with a framed photograph of my mother that I'd never seen before, a professional portrait from her college graduation that captures her intelligence and determination in ways that remind me of my own academic achievements and professional dedication. The gift acknowledges my connection to my biological mother while honoring her memory in ways that were suppressed during Linda's efforts to minimize my distinct family heritage. Your mother would be incredibly proud of what you've accomplished, Dad tells me as I examine the photograph with tears threatening to overflow. She always believed education could transform lives, and you've honored her values through your teaching career and professional success. The recognition of my mother's influence on my character and career choices provides validation for aspects of my identity that were discouraged or ignored during the years when Linda controlled family narratives about personality traits and inherited character. Understanding my genetic and emotional inheritance from my biological mother helps explain my passion for education and my natural affinity for helping struggling students discover their potential. Tyler and Madison's gifts to me reflect genuine thought and consideration for my interests, rather than the generic presents I received during previous holidays when my preferences were unknown or irrelevant to family gift-giving decisions. Their effort to understand my personality and appreciate my accomplishments suggests that relationships based on honesty can develop genuine warmth and mutual respect despite the absence of biological connection. The Christmas dinner conversation includes equal attention to everyone's achievements and experiences, rather than the previous focus on Tyler and Madison's activities while my professional accomplishments remained unmentioned or briefly acknowledged. My stories about student progress and teaching innovations receive the same interest and follow-up questions that were previously reserved for Tyler's athletic achievements and Madison's social activity. Linda's participation in these conversations carries the careful attention of someone learning to include rather than exclude, her questions about my work reflecting genuine interest rather than polite obligation. Her behavior suggests that acknowledging my legitimate family position has allowed her to develop authentic appreciation for my contributions and accomplishments, rather than viewing me as competition for family resources and attention. The afternoon brings visits from neighbors and family friends, who remember me from childhood and express pride in my professional success and recognition in Portland. Their conversations include memories of my academic achievements during high school and college years, accomplishments that were overshadowed by family dynamics but remembered by people outside our household hierarchy. Ms. Williams brings her traditional Christmas cookies and updates about neighborhood activity, but also shares memories of my mother that provide continuity with my pre-Linda family history and validation for personality traits that connect me to my biological parent rather than acquired family characteristics. Her stories help reconstruct my understanding of genetic inheritance and family identity, independent of the mythology Linda created to justify excluding me from full family membership. The evening concludes with our family watching old home videos that Dad discovered while organizing his footage from my childhood that captured moments of happiness and family connection before the dynamics became complicated by Linda's systematic exclusion tactics and preferential treatment of Tyler and Madison. The videos provide evidence of genuine father-daughter relationship that existed before it was undermined by family politics and deception. As I prepare for my return flight to Portland the next morning, Dad pulls me aside for a private conversation that provides the closure and emotional healing I've sought throughout my adult life. His words carry the weight of 20 years of regret and the hope for continued relationship rebuilding based on honesty and mutual respect. I know I can't give you back the years when you felt invisible and unappreciated, Dad tells me, his voice carrying genuine emotion and regret. But I want you to know that discovering you're my only biological child has made me realize how precious our relationship is, and how badly I want to be the father you deserve going forward. His commitment future relationship building provides hope for continued healing and connection despite the geographical distance between Springfield and Portland. The acknowledgement of past failures combined with dedication to improvement suggests that family relationships can survive truth-telling and restructuring when all parties are committed to honest communication and mutual effort. The flight back to Portland includes reflection on the progress our family has made in rebuilding relationships based on truth rather than deception, acknowledgement of genetic realities while honoring emotional connections that transcend biological inheritance. The Christmas visit provided evidence that healing is possible when people are willing to confront difficult truths and work toward genuine understanding and appreciation. My return to Roosevelt Elementary after the holiday break includes renewed energy and commitment to my students, whose academic progress continues to exceed expectations and generate recognition for innovative teaching methods that help struggling learners discover their potential. The professional satisfaction and personal fulfillment I've found in Portland provide the foundation for continued growth and contribution, independent of family validation. The phone call from Dad 6 months later includes his invitation to attend my graduation from the master's degree program I've been completing through evening classes, recognition and support for my continued professional development that was absent during my years in Springfield when my educational goals were dismissed as impractical or unnecessary given my teaching responsibility. Standing at the graduation podium as the student speaker for my master's degree cohort, I look out at the audience and see Dad sitting in the front row, his expression reflecting the pride and support that should have characterized our relationship throughout my academic and professional journey. His presence represents the acknowledgement and validation I've sought throughout my adult life, recognition that comes with the satisfaction of being proven right about my capabilities and potential. The speech I deliver focuses on the power of second chances and the importance of recognizing potential in people who have been overlooked or underestimated by systems and relationships that fail to see their true value. The message resonates with my fellow graduates while honoring my own journey from family exclusion to professional recognition and personal fulfillment. After the ceremony, Dad expresses his pride in my accomplishments and his gratitude for the opportunity to witness my success despite the years when he failed to appreciate my dedication and achievement. His words provide the paternal validation that sustains family relationships and supports continued personal growth and professional development. The story concludes with our family continuing the ongoing process of rebuilding relationships based on honesty, truth, and mutual respect, while acknowledging that healing from 20 years of deception and exclusion requires continued effort and commitment from everyone involved. The DNA results that were supposed to provide routine medical information instead revealed family secrets that transformed our understanding of identity, belonging, and the true meaning of family connection. The packed auditorium at Salem Convention Center buzzes with anticipation as Oregon's educational leaders gather for the annual Teacher of the Year ceremony. I sit in the front row designated for honorees, wearing the navy blue dress that Madison helped me select during our recent shopping trip. A bonding experience that would have been unimaginable during our years of strained family dynamic. Dad sits 3 rows behind me with Linda, Tyler, and Madison, their presence representing a family unity that exists now because of truth rather than deception. Tyler has driven down from Kent State specifically for this ceremony, his spring break scheduled around my recognition rather than his own social plans. Madison coordinated her schedule at Ohio State to ensure she could witness what she now calls my brilliant sister's moment of triumph. The transformation in how my family views my professional accomplishments reflects broader changes in how they understand my value and contributions to both our family unit and the wider community. Linda now maintains a scrapbook of my teaching awards and newspaper articles, the same careful documentation she previously reserved for Tyler's athletic achievements and Madison's social successes. State Superintendent Elizabeth Morrison takes the podium to introduce the Teacher of the Year award, her presentation emphasizing the rigorous selection process that evaluates teaching effectiveness, innovation, leadership, and measurable impact on student achievement. The criteria highlight exactly the professional qualities I've developed through years of working with students whom other educators had dismissed as unreachable or unteachable. This year's recipient has revolutionized approaches to literacy education through trauma-informed teaching methods that recognize how emotional safety enables academic learning. Dr. Morris announced. Her innovative strategies have been adopted by over 40 schools across Oregon, with documented improvements in reading achievement among vulnerable student populations. The recognition validates not just my individual efforts, but the educational philosophy I've developed through personal experience with being overlooked and underestimated. My understanding of how exclusion and marginalization affect learning comes directly from my own childhood experiences of feeling invisible within my family structure, insights that have proven invaluable in connecting with students who face similar challenges. As my name is announced and I walk toward the podium, the standing ovation from hundreds of educators creates an emotional moment that connects to every instance during my Springfield years, when my professional accomplishments went unacknowledged by the people whose recognition mattered most to my sense of self-worth. The applause represents validation from colleagues who understand the complexity and importance of educational work. My acceptance speech focuses on the power of seeing potential in people who have been dismissed or overlooked by systems designed for more conventional success stories. The message resonates deeply with the assembled educators, many of whom recognize the parallels between struggling students and their own experiences of feeling undervalued within educational hierarchies that don't always appreciate innovative approach. Every student who enters our classrooms carries hidden strengths that may not be visible through traditional assessment methods. I tell the audience, my voice steady despite the emotional significance of this moment. Our responsibility as educators is to create environments where every child feels seen, valued, and capable of achievement, regardless of their background or previous academic experience. The speech continues with specific examples of student transformations that illustrate how trauma-informed teaching creates conditions for academic success among children who have been failed by previous educational approach. The stories generate emotional responses from the audience, educators who recognize the profound impact that feeling truly seen and valued can have on human potential and achievement. After the ceremony, Dad approaches with tears in his eyes and an expression that combines pride with regret for the years when he failed to recognize my exceptional abilities and dedication. His embrace feels different from previous family interactions, carrying the weight of genuine appreciation rather than obligatory acknowledgement of my presence at family gatherings. Sarah, watching you receive this recognition makes me realize how much I missed during all those years when I didn't truly see what you were accomplishing, Dad says, his voice thick with emotion. You've always had this gift for understanding people and helping them discover their potential, and I'm sorry it took DNA results for me to appreciate what was right in front of me. His apology acknowledges the systematic blindness that characterized our family's treatment of my achievements, recognition that comes with the satisfaction of vindication, but also sadness about the opportunities for connection and support that were lost during my formative professional years. The healing between us continues to evolve through honest conversations about past mistakes and shared commitment to building better relationships. Tyler and Madison's congratulations reflect genuine admiration for accomplishments they now understand represent exceptional professional achievement rather than ordinary career advance. Their changed perspective on my work demonstrates how family dynamics can shift when truth replaces manipulation and honest communication replaces systematic exclusion, designed to maintain artificial hierarchy. I had no idea teaching was this competitive or that you were this successful at it, Tyler admits, echoing Madison's earlier comment, but with deeper understanding, gained through 2 years of rebuilding our sibling relationship. The way those educators responded to your speech made me realize you're not just a teacher, you're like an expert that other teachers look up to. Madison's response includes excitement about sharing news of my recognition with her college friends, social media posts that celebrate my achievement with the same enthusiasm she previously reserved for her own accomplishments and social activity. Her pride in being related to Oregon's Teacher of the Year represents a complete reversal from her previous indifference to my professional life. Linda's behavior during the ceremony and reception demonstrates the most dramatic transformation in family dynamics.
Her careful attention to my conversations with other educators and obvious pride in my professional recognition. She introduces herself to my colleagues as Sarah's stepmother with genuine warmth, rather than the obligation that characterized her previous acknowledgments of our relationship. The reception following the ceremony provides opportunities to network with state educational leaders and discuss expansion of my trauma-informed teaching methods to additional school districts throughout Oregon and neighboring states. The professional relationships I'm building could influence educational policy and teacher training programs, amplifying the impact of approaches developed through my personal understanding of how exclusion affects learning. Morrison approaches during the reception to discuss opportunities for me to serve on the state's Educational Innovation Committee, recognition that my methods deserve broader implementation and policy support. The invitation represents influence over educational practices that could affect thousands of students who struggle within traditional academic structures. Your trauma-informed approaches align perfectly with current research about how emotional safety enables cognitive development, Morrison explains. We need educators with your expertise helping to shape statewide policies and teacher training requirements. The offer to influence educational policy at the state level exceeds any professional opportunity I could have imagined during my years of teaching in Springfield, where my innovative methods were tolerated rather than celebrated, and my potential for leadership went unrecognized by administrators who focused on conventional approaches rather than measured outcomes. The drive back to Portland the next morning includes reflection on how far my life has progressed from the DNA testing revelation that exposed Linda's 20-year deception and transformed everyone's understanding of family relationships and belonging. The professional recognition I've achieved provides validation that extends beyond family dynamics to acknowledge contributions that benefit the broader community. My students welcome me back to Roosevelt Elementary with handmade congratulations cards and artwork celebrating my Teacher of the Year recognition, genuine affection, and pride in my achievement, providing the emotional sustenance that motivates my continued dedication to educational innovation. Their progress and growth validate my professional choices, while demonstrating the measurable impact of feeling truly seen and valued. Principal Wells greets me with updates about media requests from educational publications and invitations to speak at national conferences about trauma-informed teaching methods, recognition that my work has gained attention beyond Oregon's border. The professional opportunities emerging from the Teacher of the Year award could establish me as a national leader in educational innovation and student advocacy. Harvard's Graduate School of Education has invited you to present at their Summer Institute for Teacher Educators, Mrs. Wells announces with obvious excitement. They want you to train the professors who train future teachers, which means your methods could influence thousands of educators across the country. The invitation to Harvard represents the pinnacle of academic recognition for educational practitioners, acknowledgement that my approaches merit study and replication by the nation's most prestigious teacher preparation program. The opportunity to influence how future educators are trained could create lasting impact on how schools serve students who have been marginalized or overlooked. The phone call to Dad that evening includes sharing news about the Harvard invitation, conversation that reflects continued growth in our relationship, and his genuine pride in my expanding professional recognition. His response demonstrates understanding of the significance of academic validation and its potential for broader impact on educational practice. Sarah, presenting at Harvard means your work is being recognized by the top educational researchers in the country, Dad responds, his voice carrying amazement at the scope of my professional achievement. You're influencing how teachers are trained, which means you're affecting how thousands of future students will be taught and supported. His appreciation for the broader implications of my work represents sophisticated understanding of educational systems and professional hierarchies, absent during my Springfield years, when my teaching was dismissed as ordinary public service, rather than specialized expertise with measurable impact on student outcomes. The conversation includes Dad's offer to attend the Harvard presentation, support that would have been unimaginable during the years when my professional activities received minimal family attention or acknowledgement. His desire to witness my academic recognition demonstrates genuine investment in my success, rather than obligatory attendance at family-related events. Spring arrives in Portland with the promise of new growth and continued expansion of my professional influence, as schools throughout the Pacific Northwest implement trauma-informed teaching methods based on my research and training program. The measurable improvements in student achievement provide evidence that understanding how emotional safety enables learning can transform educational outcomes for vulnerable populations. The master's thesis I complete during evening classes focuses on the connection between family exclusion experiences and educator effectiveness with marginalized students. Research that provides academic framework for understanding how personal adversity can develop professional strengths when channeled through appropriate training and support systems. Dr. Jennifer Walsh, my thesis advisor at Portland State University, expresses amazement at the depth and originality of my research design, which combines quantitative analysis of student achievement data with qualitative interviews exploring educator background experiences and their correlation with teaching effectiveness among struggling learners. Your research provides empirical evidence for what many educators intuitively understand about the connection between personal experience and professional effectiveness, Dr. Walsh explains during our final thesis consultation. This work could influence how teacher preparation programs identify and develop educators who are naturally suited for working with vulnerable student populations. The thesis defense becomes an opportunity to present my research to a panel of education professors who express interest in collaborating on expanded studies that could inform teacher recruitment and training practices throughout higher education. The academic recognition validates the theoretical foundation underlying my practical teaching methods while establishing credibility for future research opportunities. The publication of my thesis research in the Journal of Educational Psychology generates attention from researchers across the country who recognize the implications of my findings for teacher preparation and student support systems.
The academic credibility established through peer-reviewed publication enhances my professional reputation while providing theoretical support for continued expansion of trauma-informed educational practices. Summer brings the Harvard presentation, where I address an audience of professor educators and graduate students who train future teachers in universities across the United States and internationally. The opportunity to influence how educators are prepared for classroom challenges represents the ultimate validation of approaches developed through personal understanding of exclusion and marginalization. The presentation focuses on practical strategies for implementing trauma-informed teaching, while addressing the theoretical foundations that explain why emotional safety enables cognitive development and academic achievement. The audience response includes standing ovation and extended discussion period that demonstrates genuine interest in adopting these methods within their own teacher preparation programs. Dad attends the Harvard presentation as promised, his presence in the distinguished audience providing personal significance that enhances the professional importance of this academic recognition. His pride and amazement at witnessing my expertise acknowledged by prestigious educational leaders represents complete transformation from the family dynamics that characterized our relationship during my Springfield years. Following the presentation, Harvard's Dean of Education, Michael Chen, approaches with an offer to serve as visiting professor during the next academic year. Opportunity to teach graduate courses while conducting research that could establish trauma-informed education as standard practice throughout teacher preparation programs nationwide. Your combination of practical effectiveness and theoretical sophistication represents exactly the kind of scholar-practitioner our graduate students need to learn from. Dr. Chen explained. A year at Harvard would allow you to influence the next generation of educational leaders while advancing research that could transform how we prepare teachers for diverse student populations. The Harvard opportunity requires difficult decisions about leaving my students at Roosevelt Elementary and the professional relationships I've built in Portland, but represents potential for national impact that could benefit countless students through improved teacher preparation and educational policy development. The phone call to Dad that evening includes discussion about the Harvard offer and its implications for my career development and potential impact on educational system. His advice reflects genuine understanding of professional advancement and strategic thinking about long-term career goals, rather than the dismissive attitude that characterized his response to my professional aspirations during my Springfield year. This is an extraordinary opportunity that could establish you as a national leader in educational reform, Dad counsels, his voice carrying genuine excitement about my professional potential. Your mother always believed education could change the world, and now you have the chance to influence how future teachers are prepared to make that change happen. His reference to my biological mother's educational values provides continuity with family heritage that transcends the complicated dynamics created by Linda's deception, connecting my professional calling to genetic and cultural inheritance that validates my identity. Independent of the family politics that dominated my early adult years, the decision to accept the Harvard appointment represents confidence in my ability to influence educational systems at the highest academic levels, while honoring the students and colleagues who supported my professional development during my years in Portland. The opportunity for national impact through teacher preparation justifies temporary departure from direct classroom teaching, while advancing career goals that seemed impossible during my years of feeling professionally undervalued. 3 years after the DNA revelation that exposed Linda's deception and transformed my family's understanding of genetic relationships and belonging, I stand before Harvard graduate students teaching courses in educational psychology and trauma-informed pedagogy. The professional recognition and academic credibility I've achieved provide validation that extends far beyond family dynamics to acknowledge contributions that benefit society through improved educational practices and student support systems. The legacy of feeling invisible and overlooked has been transformed into expertise that helps other educators recognize and develop potential in students who might otherwise be dismissed or marginalized by educational systems designed for more conventional learners. The personal adversity that seemed so devastating during my Springfield years has become professional strength that influences how thousands of future teachers will understand and support vulnerable student populations. My family relationships continue to evolve through honest communication and mutual commitment to building connections based on truth rather than deception, with everyone contributing to healing that requires ongoing effort and patience from all participants. The DNA results that were supposed to provide routine medical information instead revealed family secrets that forced truth-telling and relationship reconstruction based on authentic understanding rather than artificial hierarchy. The story concludes with recognition that being overlooked and underestimated can develop insights and empathy that become professional assets when channeled through appropriate training and support systems. The irony of discovering genetic legitimacy while being systematically excluded, understanding of marginalization that now benefits students and educators throughout the country through research and training programs that emphasize the importance of seeing and valuing every learner's potential. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out.